OL, the strange entity who only exists in the files of Luigi's Mansion. The swaying, hulking figure towers over Luigi if it is added back to the game, but the mystery sort of stops there. Probably one of the most eerie things about L is that it has basically no references in any of the code. Just the model and the animations in the files, and no part of the game acknowledges this figure's existence. So a few weeks ago I put out a video covering the L mystery and outlining everything that is known. But from that point forward, it's quite fun to ponder about what this ghost-like entity could have been. And in this video, we're going to be speculating just for the fun of it all. There's no hard evidence for any of this, but the comment section in the last video brought forth a lot of really cool ideas. Here are a few L theories that would have completely changed the Luigi's Mansion experience. This video will be a bit more impromptu and off the cuff than my other videos, but I hope you find it entertaining regardless. So let's talk about L being a chaser enemy. A foe that pursues you throughout the game, or in certain parts of the game, that you basically need to run from. So there's a lot of comments on the last video talking about this concept, and I think it's kind of really neat. So this comment by Pooty Blue reads as follows. It says, "Not gonna lie, the whole time I had in the back of my head, what if L was a recurring chaser enemy that you couldn't beat up like the Water Wraith from Pikmin 2? So for those of you who haven't played Pikmin 2, the Water Wraith is this transparent enemy that gets on these rollers and chases you around, and you basically have to avoid it. And of course, it hunts you down. Anyways, back to the comment. This would make sense as to why the character was scrapped, because a chaser enemy might not mesh well with a game 85% comprised of narrow halls, unless Luigi could hide somewhere via something like the crouching mode. Also, not to mention, the way L enters the set could be used anywhere. So hypothetically, Luigi could be exploring somewhere in the mansion, and L will surprise him by rising out of the ground, prompting Luigi to have to run and hide. It's a fun theory in my opinion, and would have made for a sick obstacle. So that's the end of the comment, and there's a lot of other comments that talk about this same concept. With L's animations basically appearing out of the floor instead of also like sidestepping and kind of closing in on you, it does make you wonder if he was going to chase you through the mansion. Basically like the Mr. X or any kind of pursuer enemy where you can't really defeat him, or maybe you can't defeat him initially until you get a certain ability. After all, L is paired with the elements fire and ice, so maybe there's something with that. Another comment is by the Burger King himself, and in this comment, I'll paraphrase it a bit, but it says, "When we play this game, we feel a sense of calmness in the brightly lit hallways or rooms once they are completed. Knowing this, having L in the game constantly roaming the mansion, potentially hiding around any corner, would continuously leave a sense of dread and nervousness." That's an interesting point, because Luigi's Mansion, I actually grew to really like the cleared state of it, right? It was very... Obviously, it's nostalgic for me now, but looking back at it, it did feel safe. It felt like I had cleared these rooms. I didn't have to worry about anything in these rooms other than booze and then obviously the blackout. But the fact that something like this could completely change that experience. Now, we don't know if L was, say, a pursuer enemy, if he could pursue you into areas that were lit up, but it's an interesting thought. But to kind of close it out, there is no defeat animation or vacuuming animation for L. I suppose it could have just an opacity change and basically fade away on screen, but unlike other spirits, there is no sort of defeat tethered with this entity. This sort of leads us to the next thing I want to talk about, which is the concept of blocked progress. So in Luigi's Mansion, you have various doors, like the spike door, or obviously doors that need keys that block your progress. There's even a burning door that you need to use water to put out, right? Now, what if L was also sort of a entity that blocked your progress? Like, I immediately think of like Mito or the other Kakiri kid from Ocarina of Time who blocks your path in Kakiri Forest. I guess you could even say like the signs in Donkey Kong 64. Just something to prevent you from moving forward until you had something or completed something. And this kind of goes well with L's movements. That strafing left and right. It feels like someone kind of boxing you in. Just like Mito in Ocarina of Time, how he kind of slides left and right, or the other Kakiri kid. Like, it feels like that. It could be that, right? So maybe L was something like that. It was just an entity, a door ghost, for a lack of a better term, that was made to keep you in an area until you had the tools that you needed to get past it. It's definitely an interesting thought, and other comments on the video mirrored this. Take Ace Dania MMX. They state, L's sidestep makes me think it could have been some kind of body blocking enemy. Maybe an early check for if Luigi had a certain element, where it would have an elemental core connecting his body parts that would have to be destroyed so Luigi could move on. To be honest, I think I would have actually enjoyed this concept a lot more than the spiky doors that Luigi's Mansion does. Just knowing there was a spirit blocking your path that needed something in order to get past it is kind of neat. And that kind of also leads us sort of to the next point. So another theory could be, like this comment says, by Willow Whispers. Do you think an item was supposed to be inside the cage part of his abdomen, like a key? And when I saw this, I commented as well because I actually had not thought of that before, and it's actually really interesting. So think about that. L's interior either held an item or it required an item. How would the game have changed if, let's just say, L actually held a Mario item? Maybe it was his hat, his star, or something. And it actually moved around the mansion or tried to avoid you, and you had to defeat that enemy to gain what it held inside. That'd be kind of neat, and it might even play into the idea of exploring parts of the mansion that you did in the past. What's interesting though is we can actually take these ideas and sort of combine them as well. What if L was a combination of both the pursuer enemy and also the container enemy? And this will kind of go into my next point in a bit because, the mansion itself is kind of contained and it's not very big. In a bit, I'll talk about areas other than the mansion. But what if L was like a Phanto? Those creepy masks from Super Mario Bros. 2 that chase you when you pick up the key. Perhaps it was maybe appeared to be like a statue, and then when you grabbed the key, it came to life and chased you. That would be pretty interesting, especially if you could not defeat it. Like imagine running through hallways, dodging fireballs and ice and all this other stuff, also having to deal with the normal ghosts in the mansion. That'd be pretty intense, and it would definitely change the experience of the mansion. But let's kind of circle back around to a different video I did in the past about the exterior areas of the mansion. Because what if L was an enemy from outside the mansion? Now there isn't concrete evidence that Luigi could walk around the mansion, but the idea that Luigi used to climb out of Egad's lab makes me believe that you had to walk to the mansion at some point. So Luigi would be outside, in theory, in the huge outdoors area that we see him walking through in cutscenes and at the start of the game. As things are now, you just sort of warp between all sorts of different areas. So a while ago I made a video theorizing about a cave or pathways that led outside the mansion, because there is room data left over out of bounds that you can walk into if you disable wall collision. One is next to the graveyard, and the other, the courtyard. You can see them on this 3D model of a compilation of all the bounding boxes in the areas of the game. They stick out a bit from the rest of the mansion. And for those curious, this large section is the observatory, for when you walk out into space. So if there was possibly more to do outside, could L have been something out there? Like, what if there was a path that went to Boo's Woods, and L ended up chasing you from out there back to the mansion? That'd be kind of cool, getting pursued through the woods, and then you get to the mansion, and then maybe you realize that you're not even safe there. Just like that Phanto concept, but now it's a much longer trek, and you have to get to a certain door in the mansion. Of course, this is just spitballing things for the fun of it. There is no real concrete evidence of this, but I do love thinking of concepts like this. And for the last theory that I want you to think about, this was something that I actually thought of while just talking through the rest of this. What if L was a ghost that Egad made? So we have Egad's lab, the training area, and the gallery. And there is an overarching map to these places. At one point, I think you actually had to walk between them because you can't explore Egad's lab. But what if L was just a training ghost that Egad made to basically teach the character how to use the elements? Egad is known for crazy experiments, so I wouldn't put it past him if he took some of the elemental ghosts in the mansion, tried combining them, and then this L monstrosity was created. And this monster is now what you use to learn how to defend yourself with the different elements. Perhaps L will put out the different elemental ghosts through its attacks, and you would have to suck them up and then use that against L. That sort of changes the feeling of this enemy quite a bit because now it's something that actually sort of helps you by teaching. It's definitely far out there as an idea, but it would breathe more life into that training room after we got done using it the first time. So with all of that said, keep in mind this is all just speculation. Most of this has no concrete evidence to back it up, but based off these theories, what do you think L could have been? Do you agree with any of the concepts mentioned here? I'd love to know your thoughts, so please share them in the comments below. And with that, I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers!